No one noticed the human until the first assassin died. The shot came from nearly 2 kilometers away, fired by a sniper who had spent 6 months studying the alien princess's movements. The weapon used compressed antimatter needles designed to pierce military shields and leave no warning until the target was already dead. Across the crowded diplomatic plaza, merchants continued shouting, patrol drones hovered overhead, and hundreds of alien citizens celebrated what was supposed to be a historic day of peace. The sniper squeezed the trigger with absolute confidence. The princess never even flinched. A single gloved hand caught the projectile in midair. For one impossible second, every security camera froze on the image. A human stood beside the royal transport with his arm extended. Smoke drifted from his palm where the antimatter needle had somehow lost every bit of its deadly energy. Before anyone understood what had happened, the sniper's position exploded into silence. No dramatic blast, no bright fireball. Just one precise counterattack that erased the threat before the echo of the first shot reached the street. The crowd screamed. The royal guards reached for their weapons. The human calmly dropped the crushed projectile onto the ground as though stopping impossible attacks was part of an ordinary morning. That single moment changed everything. Across known space, humans already carried a strange reputation. Most civilizations viewed Earth as a death world, a planet with crushing gravity, violent oceans, poisonous wildlife, unstable weather, and predators that hunted almost anything that moved. Alien scientists had long argued that intelligent life should never have evolved there. The environment itself should have prevented it. Instead, humanity had adapted. They climbed mountains that lacked enough oxygen to breathe. They crossed frozen continents and burning deserts. They built cities beneath storms powerful enough to destroy fleets. They survived diseases that would wipe out entire alien populations. To humans, hardship was not unusual. It was simply another challenge waiting to be solved. Even so, the galaxy misunderstood them. Many believed humans were physically strong but politically weak. They assumed Earth preferred diplomacy because it feared war. Others laughed at the idea of humans serving as personal guards for royal families. Why would one Death Worlder protect an alien ruler surrounded by advanced security systems, elite soldiers, and combat drones? The answer remained hidden. Only a handful of intelligence agencies knew that every human royal bodyguard completed missions considered impossible by every known military. Their names never appeared in public records. Their victories became classified before the battles officially existed. They specialized in ending wars before anyone realized they had begun. The princess understood exactly who stood beside her. She had insisted on hiring a human after surviving 3 previous assassination attempts during fragile peace negotiations between rival star systems. Her advisors protested for months. They argued that trusting a Death World species would frighten allies and insult the Royal Guard. She ignored every objection. She had seen something the rest of the galaxy refused to accept. Humans did not panic. They observed. They waited. Then they acted with terrifying speed. The human assigned to her rarely spoke unless spoken to. He never boasted about Earth. He never challenged soldiers seeking to prove themselves. During official ceremonies, many visiting diplomats mistook him for another silent attendant standing near the wall. Some even forgot he was there. He preferred it that way. While politicians debated trade routes and military alliances, he quietly memorized exits, measured firing angles, studied reflections in polished metal, and watched thousands of faces without appearing to look at anyone. Every movement mattered. Every sound carried meaning. Every stranger represented another possibility. To him, survival began long before the first attack. Unfortunately for the assassins, they believed they had planned the perfect hunt. They came from different species, different criminal syndicates, and different corners of the galaxy. Some sought fortune, others wanted revenge. A few believed eliminating the princess would ignite a war profitable enough to reshape entire star sectors. Unknown to each other, they all selected the same day, the same location, the same target. Within minutes, the city transformed into the deadliest battlefield no one recognized. Hidden rifles activated inside abandoned towers. Micro-drones disguised as insects slipped through ventilation systems. Shape-shifting infiltrators blended into cheering crowds. Explosives rested beneath decorative monuments built decades earlier. A stolen orbital weapon waited for authorization high above the atmosphere. One princess. One human. Hundreds of ways to die. The Royal Security Network detected only a fraction of the danger. Their scanners became overwhelmed by false signals, hacked surveillance feeds, and electronic interference spreading block by block. Officers shouted conflicting reports while command systems struggled to identify genuine threats from carefully designed distractions. Panic spread faster than information. The human remained perfectly still. His eyes slowly moved across the plaza, not searching for the first attack, but the second, the third, and the fourth. He seemed less interested in the enemies already revealed than the ones still confident they remained invisible. The princess noticed the change in his posture. It was almost impossible to see. A slight shift of weight, one controlled breath. One hand resting closer to his side. She had learned those signs during months of travel. Whenever he moved like that, someone nearby had already made a fatal mistake. Far above the city, hidden inside abandoned communication satellites, encrypted signals reached every assassin simultaneously. The order was simple. Attack together. Leave no witnesses. Make sure the human dies first. What none of them realized was that the human had intercepted the transmission before it ever reached their receivers. He now knew exactly how many hunters were closing in. He knew where most of them were hiding, and he had already decided which one would fall first. As the countdown reached its final seconds, the princess quietly looked toward her silent protector. For the first time since they had met, she saw something that sent a chill through even her seasoned royal instincts. He smiled. The smile lasted only a heartbeat. To everyone else it looked calm, almost friendly. To the princess it meant something entirely different. During months of traveling across hostile sectors, she had learned one important lesson. The human never smiled because he felt safe. He smiled because every unknown had suddenly become predictable. Around them, the celebration continued. Music echoed across the plaza. Merchants offered glowing fruits harvested from floating forests. Children from half a dozen star systems chased harmless training drones through the crowd. Visitors believed they were witnessing another peaceful gathering between rival civilizations. Only two people knew the truth. The princess slowly folded her hands in front of her, following the emergency instructions the human had quietly taught her weeks earlier. Do not run. Do not look for danger. If I tell you to move, move. She had laughed when he first explained the routine. Now she understood why he had repeated it so often. The human glanced toward the nearest security commander. The commander was a towering reptilian officer wearing armor powerful enough to survive direct plasma impacts. He had served the royal family for over 40 years and trusted the palace defense network more than any individual soldier. Their eyes met. The human gave one small nod. Nothing more. The commander hesitated. His training told him to issue evacuation orders immediately. His instincts, sharpened through decades of service, told him something else. He quietly lowered his weapon. Every nearby guard copied the motion without questioning it. They trusted their commander. Their commander had just decided to trust the human. That decision would save countless lives. Across the rooftops surrounding the plaza, hidden observers watched through advanced optical systems. They expected confusion after the first failed assassination attempt. They expected guards to scatter, civilians to panic, and the princess to become isolated. Instead, nothing happened. The target remained exactly where she stood. The human remained beside her. To the assassins, the silence felt wrong. One operative canceled his attack. Another delayed by 3 seconds. A third switched to a backup firing position. The human had expected that. He wanted uncertainty. Every extra second forced the hidden killers to reveal more about themselves. His eyes never stopped moving. A reflection in a polished monument revealed someone adjusting a concealed rifle. A delivery drone flying too slowly indicated remote interference. A musician playing near the fountain had changed rhythm by less than a fraction of a second. Tiny details. Almost invisible. On Earth, overlooking details like those often meant death. Humans had evolved on a planet where danger rarely announced itself. Predators hid beneath water. Venomous creatures disguised themselves as harmless plants. Storms formed with terrifying speed. Earth rewarded awareness and punished distraction. Alien academies called it survival instinct. Humans simply called it paying attention. The princes had once asked why humans constantly scanned every room they entered. The bodyguard answered with a question. On your world, what happens if you ignore your surroundings? She had replied honestly, usually nothing. He nodded. On mine, eventually something tries to eat you. She thought he was joking. Later she studied Earth. She stopped laughing. The Royal Archives contained thousands of scientific reports describing Earth's impossible ecosystem. Gravity measured nearly twice the comfort level for many intelligent species. Microorganisms evolved faster than alien medicine. Oceans produced storms large enough to swallow entire cities. Predators hunted in forests, deserts, mountains, rivers, and even beneath frozen ice. Volcanoes reshaped landscapes. Earthquakes erased civilizations. Despite all of it, humans not only survived, but explored every corner of their world. The princes began understanding why every human soldier seemed unusually calm under pressure. Compared to home, most battlefields felt manageable. A nearby diplomat from a peaceful aquatic civilization nervously approached the royal escort. I recommend immediate evacuation, he whispered. The human answered without looking away from the crowd. Negative. The diplomat blinked in disbelief. You know, assassins are here, yes. And you intend to remain exposed? For now? The diplomat stared at him as though speaking with someone completely irrational. Every military manual in the galaxy demanded withdrawal after a confirmed assassination attempt. The human had reached the opposite conclusion. Leaving now meant walking directly into prepared escape routes, hidden explosives, and unknown ambush. Remaining still forced the attackers to keep adapting. Every adjustment exposed another piece of their plan. The princes noticed something unusual happening among the civilians. Without realizing it, people slowly drifted away from her position. Not because anyone ordered them. The human subtly guided traffic with almost invisible movements. One conversation delayed a family. One polite gesture redirected merchants. One warning to a maintenance worker cleared another path. Within minutes, an open circle surrounded the royal transport. No panic, no running, just space. If fighting began, innocent people would have somewhere to escape. The guards finally recognized what he had accomplished. One officer whispered softly, "He prepared the battlefield without anyone noticing." Another answered, "Humans think differently." The commander corrected him. No, humans survive differently, far above the city. Orbital surveillance continued feeding false information into the palace network. Enemy hackers celebrated. Every camera displayed manipulated footage. Security maps showed empty streets where armed infiltrators waited. Emergency channels echoed with fabricated distress calls. To palace intelligence, the attack appeared scattered and unorganized. The reality was far worse. More than 80 professional assassins had entered the city over the previous month. Each believed they were part of a separate operation. None realized someone else coordinated every movement from the shadows. The humans suspected that hidden organizer existed. Professional killers rarely cooperated voluntarily. Someone powerful had united them. Someone who understood both alien strategy and human psychology. That possibility concerned him far more than the assassins themselves. His mission had never been simply protecting the princess. His mission was discovering who wanted an interstellar war badly enough to risk provoking humanity. That answer remained hidden, for now. A faint vibration reached his wrist communicator. No message appeared, no voice spoke. Just 3 silent pulses. Another human watching, reporting from somewhere beyond the plaza. He gave no visible response, but the tiny signal confirmed what he had hoped. The enemy had not only surrounded the princess, they had unknowingly entered a much larger hunt. Across nearby rooftops, several assassins finally received the synchronized attack order. Weapons unlocked, explosives armed, stealth systems disengaged. Each operative believed victory depended on eliminating one silent human before he could react. None of them realized that, from the moment the first shot had failed, Every one of their positions had already been quietly marked. The synchronized attack should have begun with chaos. Instead, it began with silence. One by one, hidden assassins activated their weapons and waited for the signal that never came. Their encrypted countdown reached 0, yet the command channel remained empty. Across rooftops, maintenance tunnels, abandoned apartments, and disguised market stalls, professionals who had never doubted their equipment suddenly found themselves staring at blank tactical displays. Someone had interrupted the network. No one knew who. The human bodyguard looked up for only a fraction of a second. High above the clouds, invisible to everyone below, a communications satellite drifted into a slightly different orbit. To ordinary observers, it meant nothing. To him, it confirmed that another layer of the operation had just been exposed. The princess remained perfectly still. She had stopped asking questions. Every answer could wait until they survived the next few minutes. Around the outer edge of the plaza, royal guards slowly repositioned themselves without breaking formation. They were following the humans' earlier instructions almost without realizing it. Instead of clustering around the princess, they spread outward, creating overlapping lines of sight that covered every possible escape route. The assassins noticed. So did someone else. Inside a luxury observation tower overlooking the city, diplomats from nearly 20 civilizations watched the celebration through reinforced crystal walls. Most had come to discuss trade agreements after the ceremony. None expected to witness what appeared to be the opening moves of an invisible battle. One elderly scholar adjusted his optical lenses. "Why are the guards moving away from their ruler?" a military advisor answered quietly. "They are making room." "For what?" The advisor did not reply. He had studied human military history. He recognized the pattern. On Earth, soldiers often cleared space before violence began, not after. Across the room, an insectoid ambassador folded 4 arms nervously. "I still recommend evacuation." "No," another delegate answered. "Look at the human." Every eye turned toward the silent bodyguard. He had not drawn a weapon. He had not issued commands. He simply watched. That unnerved them more than any display of aggression could have. Most species associated confidence with superior technology. Humans often associated confidence with preparation. Far below, hidden beneath one of the decorative fountains, an assassin finally abandoned the original plan. He activated an emergency route leading through ancient maintenance tunnels constructed centuries earlier. The tunnels had once carried water beneath the city. Now they carried something far more dangerous. Small combat drones emerged from concealed storage compartments, rolling silently through narrow corridors before climbing toward street level. The machines were not large. Each measured less than half a meter across. Individually, they posed little threat. Together, they could overwhelm civilian areas within minutes. The palace security network never detected them. The human did. He heard them. Most alien species relied heavily on visual information. Humans rarely did. Earth had taught them to recognize danger through sound long before technology existed. The faint scrape of metal against stone. A repeating vibration beneath the pavement. An unnatural rhythm hidden beneath music and conversation. His eyes shifted toward a nearby drainage grate. The princess followed his gaze. "What is it?" "Underground?" She listened carefully. At first, she heard nothing. Then a soft mechanical hum. It was almost impossible to notice. "You can hear that?" "I grew up near heavy machinery." That was only part of the truth. He had also grown up hiking through forests where noticing unusual sounds often meant the difference between returning home or becoming another predator's meal. Earth rewarded careful listeners. The galaxy underestimated them. A young royal guard standing nearby finally spoke. "What are your orders?" the human answered without hesitation. "Protect civilians first." The guard looked confused. "The princess?" "She stays with me." The commander overheard the exchange. He understood immediately. If civilians panicked, the assassins would gain thousands of moving targets to hide among. Protecting the crowd also protected the princess. It was simple. It was effective. It was completely opposite to standard royal doctrine. The commander smiled despite the danger. Perhaps human thinking was contagious. Deep beneath the city, Dozens of maintenance workers suddenly received emergency evacuation notices. None questioned them. The messages appeared authentic. Within moments, the underground corridors emptied. Only the approaching combat drones remained. Elsewhere, another subplot unfolded without anyone in the plaza realizing it. A civilian cargo pilot preparing for departure noticed unusual energy fluctuations surrounding several communication satellites. Curious, she reported them to orbital traffic control. The report disappeared. She transmitted it again using a private commercial frequency. This time, another station acknowledged receipt. Within minutes, independent shipping captains throughout the system began comparing sensor readings. Something enormous was hiding beyond the planet's outer defense perimeter. Not one ship, several, running completely silent, waiting. Whatever happened in the city below was only one piece of a much larger operation. Back in the plaza, the princess studied her bodyguard more carefully than ever before. His breathing remained perfectly steady. His heartbeat, according to the medical monitor linked to her security bracelet, barely changed. She remembered reading an old report written by an alien scientist after observing human rescue teams inside an active volcanic zone on Earth. The conclusion had fascinated her. Humans experienced fear like everyone else. They simply trained themselves to keep functioning while afraid. Other civilizations tried to eliminate danger. Humans practiced operating inside it. That difference explained countless victories throughout recent galactic history. Nearby, a pair of young alien journalists quietly recorded everything they could see. Neither understood why nothing dramatic seemed to be happening. One whispered into her recorder. "The human has remained motionless for nearly 4 minutes." Her partner lowered his camera. "Maybe the attack is over." Before she could answer, a maintenance robot rolled across the plaza. The human turned toward it instantly. "So did every assassin?" The journalists exchanged nervous glances. The robot continued cleaning the pavement exactly as programmed. Nothing happened, yet every hidden operative had reacted. Without realizing it, they had all revealed their attention at the same moment. Tiny movements, slight weapon adjustments, brief changes in posture, enough. The human quietly memorized another dozen positions. The princess noticed his eyes narrowing. "You found them? Some? How many are left?" "I don't know." That worried her more than any number he could have given. He disliked uncertainty. If he admitted he did not know, the enemy had planned further ahead than expected. Far beyond the city skyline, storm clouds gathered over the mountains. Violent electrical discharges flashed through the upper atmosphere. Local weather stations predicted severe conditions within the hour. Citizens hurried to finish business before the storm arrived. Few realized the changing weather would interfere with orbital sensors, long-range communications, and aerial support. Someone had chosen today with extraordinary care. The human watched the first distant lightning strike. Then he looked toward the princess. "They're running out of time." She frowned. "Because of the storm?" He shook his head. No, a tiny vibration reached the sole of his boot, not from underground, from above. Something massive had just entered the atmosphere under heavy stealth. Whatever had been hiding beyond the planet's defenses was no longer waiting. It was coming down. The vibration came again. This time everyone felt it. Windows across the diplomatic district trembled. Hanging lights swayed above the crowded plaza. Birds native to the planet suddenly abandoned nearby towers, filling the sky in a frantic wave that caught every citizen's attention. The crowd looked upward. They saw nothing. The human bodyguard kept his eyes on the ground. "Everyone away from the center," he said calmly. The royal commander did not hesitate. "Move, slowly, stay together." His voice carried enough authority that civilians obeyed without panic. Families gathered their children. Merchants quietly stepped away from their market stalls. Visitors followed the guards toward reinforced buildings surrounding the plaza. The assassins cursed under their breath. Their carefully prepared kill zone was disappearing. One operative finally abandoned patience. He rose from behind a decorative monument and fired a burst of high-speed plasma toward the princess. The human moved first. Instead of pulling the princess backward, he stepped into the attack. His defensive field activated for less than half a second. Most shields tried to absorb incoming energy. The human's equipment redirected it. The plasma slammed harmlessly into an empty transport vehicle, which exploded in a shower of glowing metal far away from the civilians. Only then did the bodyguard move. One precise throw. A compact metal object left his hand, no larger than a coin. It crossed nearly 300 meters before striking the assassin's weapon. The rifle shattered into useless fragments. The stunned attacker barely had time to react before royal guards surrounded his position. The entire exchange lasted less than 3 seconds. Every observer in the plaza stood frozen. The princes had seen his speed during training exercises. Seeing it during a real attack was something else entirely. The alien journalists forgot to keep speaking into their recorders. One whispered in disbelief. "I couldn't even follow his movement." Her partner replayed the recording. The security cameras captured little more than a blur. Inside the observation tower, the elderly scholar slowly removed his glasses. "We've misunderstood them," the military advisor nodded. "For generations, they don't rely on strength. No, they rely on preparation." Across hidden communication channels, confusion spread among the remaining assassins. The primary target is still alive. Countermeasures failed. Visual confirmation impossible. Where is the human? That last question echoed repeatedly. Because none of them could see him anymore, the princes could. He had not disappeared. He had simply changed position using the confusion created by the explosion. He now stood several meters away, forcing every hidden attacker to search for him again. Earth predators rarely stayed where they attacked. Human soldiers inherited the same instinct. Keep moving, never become predictable. Never give danger a second chance? Far beneath the plaza, the combat drones finally emerged through maintenance access points. Their optical sensors scanned for the princess's royal identification signal. Instead, they found empty streets. The civilians were gone? The drones changed objectives automatically. Attack the nearest security personnel. Before they could move far, maintenance hatches slammed shut above several of them. Construction crews, following emergency evacuation procedures, had unknowingly trapped entire groups of machines underground. The human smiled slightly. He had studied the city's infrastructure before accepting the assignment. Every tunnel, every utility corridor, every emergency barrier, he believed maps saved more lives than weapons. The princes finally understood why he spent evenings reviewing engineering files instead of military reports. He had been preparing for a battle no one else imagined. Above them, another flash of lightning illuminated the darkening sky. This time, an outline briefly appeared within the clouds. A ship, huge, hidden by advanced camouflage. Gasps spread across the plaza. Even without clear details, everyone recognized its size. No diplomatic vessel carried armor that thick. No civilian transport entered an atmosphere under full stealth. Whatever descended from orbit had come expecting resistance. The Royal Command Network erupted with frantic messages. Unknown warship detected. Identity unavailable. Weapon systems unconfirmed. Orbital defense response delayed by atmospheric interference. The commander looked toward the human. "You knew something larger was coming, I suspected. You didn't tell us? You couldn't stop it." The answer carried no arrogance, only simple fact. Planetary defenses had already been deceived. The battle now belonged to those on the surface. High above, the hidden ship continued descending through storm clouds. Its commanders watched live battlefield feeds with growing frustration. Nothing matched their predictions. The assassins had failed to isolate the princes. Civilian panic never materialized. Royal security reorganized too quickly. Worst of all, the human bodyguard continued disrupting every carefully planned sequence. An officer aboard the vessel finally asked the question no one wanted to answer. Who trained him? Silence filled the command chamber. Another officer quietly responded, Earth. No further explanation seemed necessary. Meanwhile, reports from around the city grew stranger. Local police discovered abandoned sniper nests before shots were fired. Hospital staff received anonymous warnings to prepare emergency wards. Traffic systems automatically cleared evacuation routes without official authorization. Someone else was helping. The human had allies, invisible, disciplined, watching. The princess looked around the plaza. "How many humans came with us?" He answered without looking at her. "I came alone," she frowned. "Then who is helping?" He stayed silent. She recognized that silence. He was protecting someone else's identity. Across the plaza, the young journalist noticed the same mystery. Every time danger appeared, it somehow reached empty space instead of crowded streets. Someone kept moving civilians seconds before attacks happened. Someone redirected emergency vehicles before roads became blocked. The human bodyguard could not possibly be everywhere. Or could he? Rumors spread through the crowd. Some believed there were dozens of hidden human operatives. Others insisted the bodyguard somehow predicted the future. Neither explanation was correct. The truth was much simpler. Humans planned for failure. Every backup had another backup. Every route included alternatives. Every decision assumed something would go wrong. On a death world, optimism alone never kept anyone alive. Preparation did. The storm finally arrived. Rain hammered the city with astonishing force. Powerful winds swept through towering buildings, scattering banners and market displays. Alien visitors rushed for shelter. The human remained exactly where he stood. Rain did not slow him. It reminded him of home. He remembered long training marches through freezing storms, mountain rescue exercises where visibility dropped to almost nothing, search missions in forests soaked by endless rain. Earth never canceled danger because of weather. Neither would he. The princess watched him standing calmly beneath the dark sky. For the first time, she understood why humanity inspired equal amounts of respect and fear throughout the galaxy. They were not fearless. They were familiar with hardship. While other civilizations sought perfect conditions before acting, humans learned to succeed in imperfect ones. That difference changed everything. A sudden alert appeared across every surviving military display. The descending warship had opened its launch bays. Multiple fast-moving objects separated from the main vessel. Drop craft, dozens of them. Each one headed directly toward the diplomatic district. The commander stared at the incoming formations. "We cannot stop that many?" The human finally drew his weapon. It was surprisingly ordinary. No glowing energy blade. No oversized plasma cannon. Just a compact rifle worn smooth from years of use. He checked it once. Calmly, carefully, then he looked at the princess. "You asked me months ago why humans make good bodyguards." She nodded. He loaded the first magazine. "You're about to find out." Above them, the first enemy drop craft burst through the storm clouds, and every eye in the city turned toward the sky. The first enemy drop craft cut through the rain like a falling meteor. Its engines roared across the city as terrified citizens watched from reinforced shelters and towering windows. More craft followed close behind, descending in perfect formation toward the diplomatic district. Whoever had planned the operation intended to overwhelm the defenders with speed before planetary forces could organize a response. The human bodyguard stood his ground. The princess remained behind him, surrounded by royal guards whose confidence had changed completely. Only an hour earlier they had believed they were protecting the human assigned to their ruler. Now they understood the truth. He was protecting all of them. The lead drop craft deployed its assault team before touching the ground. Heavily armored soldiers landed across the plaza, their magnetic boots locking onto the wet stone as they spread into attack positions. Their commander raised a weapon toward the princess. He never fired. A single shot echoed through the storm. The human's rifle had spoken first. The enemy commander's weapon shattered in his hands before he could pull the trigger. The projectile had struck the rifle's power regulator from nearly 400 meters away. The invading soldiers froze. That shot should have been impossible in heavy rain. It was not impossible for someone trained on Earth. The human moved before anyone recovered from the surprise. He did not rush recklessly into the enemy. He advanced with careful purpose, always placing himself between the attackers and the civilians. Every movement forced the invaders to focus on him instead of the princess. Royal guards followed his example. Instead of charging in different directions, they worked together as one unit. Months of observing the human had quietly changed the way they thought. They covered each other's blind spots. They communicated with simple signals. They protected escape routes instead of chasing glory. The plaza became a wall the invaders could not break. Above them, more drop craft approached. Then something unexpected happened. Bright streaks crossed the storm clouds. Planetary defense fighters finally arrived. The delay had not come from hesitation. Engineers throughout the city had spent precious minutes clearing the communication interference created by the attackers. Once the false signals disappeared, the defense fleet launched immediately. The hidden warship in orbit suddenly found itself facing organized resistance. Its commander realized the mission had failed. The princess was alive. The city remained standing. The invasion had lost its greatest advantage. He ordered a retreat. Several drop craft turned back toward the clouds. Others tried to escape at full speed. They never reached orbit. Defense fighters intercepted them long before they could regroup with the hidden warship. Within minutes, the battle above the city was over. On the ground, the remaining invaders lowered their weapons. Some surrendered. Others attempted to flee through maintenance tunnels, only to discover every exit already secured by local security forces. The human had predicted those escape routes days before the attack. His preparations ended the hunt before it could spread across the planet. Silence slowly returned to the plaza. Rain continued falling over damaged vehicles, broken stone, and abandoned weapons. Emergency teams entered carefully, treating the injured and helping frightened civilians leave their shelters. The princess stepped forward. "You knew they wanted more than my life." The human nodded. "They wanted a war." She looked across the ruined plaza. "They almost succeeded. They failed because too many people worked together." She smiled. "You mean humans?" He shook his head. "I mean everyone who chose to protect others." The royal commander approached carrying a captured enemy data core. "Our analysts recovered their operational records." The princess accepted it. "What do they show?" "The assassins believed humanity would respond with revenge if you died." The human was not surprised. Creating conflict had been the true objective from the beginning. A dead princess would have shattered fragile alliances. Fear and suspicion would have spread faster than facts. Entire star systems might have gone to war over a lie. Instead, the conspiracy had collapsed in full public view. Every news network had recorded the truth. The galaxy watched humans defend peace rather than seek destruction. Over the following weeks, investigators uncovered the entire network behind the attack. Criminal syndicates had been manipulated by a hidden organization that profited from endless conflict. They underestimated both the determination of the Royal Alliance and the discipline of humanity. Their influence disappeared almost overnight. Without secrecy, they had no power. The diplomatic summit resumed 1 month later. This time, representatives from dozens of civilizations attended without fear. The damaged plaza had been rebuilt, but one section of stone remained untouched. The place where the first impossible shot had been stopped became a memorial reminding visitors that peace often survived because ordinary people refused to abandon it. The princess addressed the assembled delegates. "For many years we called Earth a death world because we feared its dangers." She looked toward the human standing quietly in the background. "Today we understand something far more important. The danger did not create monsters. It created people who refused to surrender." The hall remained silent. Every delegate listened. They grew strong because weakness meant extinction. They learned compassion because survival on a death world required helping one another. They prepared for disaster because hope alone never stopped a storm. Humanity's greatest strength is not violence. It is resilience. The speech spread across known space. Schools added new lessons about Earth's history. Military academies studied human planning instead of only human weapons. Scientists launched joint research missions with Earth to better understand the remarkable adaptability of death world life. Even public opinion changed. Children who once feared humans now wanted to meet them. Merchants sought Earth products. Explorers volunteered for exchange missions to the famous Blue World. The old stereotypes slowly disappeared. One evening, long after the city had recovered, the princess found the human standing alone on a balcony overlooking the lights below. "The council wants to reward you," she said. "They already did. I have not announced anything. You announced peace?" She laughed softly. You always answer like that. He looked toward the stars where the enemy warship had once hidden. The mission is complete. For now, she folded her arms. Will you stay? He considered the question carefully. There will always be another mission. She expected that answer. But before the next one? He smiled, the same quiet smile she had seen before the battle. This time it carried no warning. Only relief. I think I can stay a little longer. Far beyond the planet, news of the failed conspiracy continued spreading from system to system. The story became famous for many reasons. Some remembered the assassins, others remembered the hidden warship. Most remembered one silent human who had stood between danger and innocent lives without asking for recognition. The galaxy finally understood what countless explorers had tried to explain for generations. Earth was indeed a death world. Its gravity was relentless, its oceans were unforgiving. Its wilderness demanded respect. Yet the greatest product of that harsh world was not its predators or its storms. It was humanity. A species shaped by impossible odds, strengthened by hardship, guided by courage, and willing to stand alone so that others would never have to. From that day forward, whenever diplomats discussed the value of a human protector, no one laughed. They simply hoped that, if darkness ever came for them, a quiet death worlder would be standing nearby. Thanks for watching this story. If you enjoyed this HFY science fiction adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more epic stories.